The test of the heart. In the rolling suburbs of Connecticut, where tall glass mansions reflected the afternoon sun and silence carried the hum of wealth, the Carter family lived in splendor. Daniel Carter, a successful African-American venture capitalist, had built a fortune from nothing but grit and brilliance. His wife, Margaret, a white woman from an old Boston family, had married him at a time when society had frowned upon their union. Yet, together, they had silenced doubters and carved out a life of wealth, grace, and quiet rebellion against prejudice. Their daughter, Isabella Carter, 19 and radiant, was the embodiment of both her parents' worlds. With her mother's porcelain complexion, her father's deep brown eyes, and a cascade of golden curls that shimmered under the sun, she was a vision of beauty and promise. More than that, Isabella was intelligent, curious, and grounded, traits her parents had instilled from childhood. Isabella had recently fallen into the intoxicating whirl of young love. His name was Jason Miller, a college junior from a neighboring town. He was tall, athletic, with a practiced charm that seemed to sweep Isabella off her feet. Their paths had crossed at a charity gala, where Jason had lingered near her just long enough to strike a connection. Since then, they had been inseparable, or so it seemed. When Isabella confessed her new romance to her parents, she did so with the bright-eyed enthusiasm of youth. Daniel and Margaret exchanged silent glances, their years of experience warning them to tread carefully. They had raised Isabella to value character over appearances, but they also knew the world was filled with men who saw in her not the girl she was, but the fortune and name she carried. Daniel, cautious but protective, suggested a test. Not a cruel one, but one that would reveal the truth of Jason's intentions. Margaret agreed, though her heart ached at the thought that her daughter's first taste of love might be soured. They decided to let the boy's character reveal itself in the simplest of ways. The plan was set into motion one golden Saturday afternoon. Isabella and Jason had arranged to meet downtown, in a quiet park lined with oak trees and the soft murmur of a nearby fountain. Isabella wore a summer dress of soft blue silk, her joy untainted, her trust unwavering. Jason arrived in a sleek black car, polished to perfection, his clothes expensive but carefully styled to appear casual. Daniel came later, disguised in worn jeans, an old jacket, and scuffed shoes. He looked nothing like the powerful businessman whose name commanded respect in boardrooms. Instead, he carried himself like an ordinary man, one often overlooked, one invisible in the eyes of privilege. He approached Jason, phone in hand, voice steady. He asked if he might borrow Jason's phone for a quick call, explaining with feigned humility that his own had died. Jason looked at the stranger with disdain. He glanced at his device, an expensive, newest model smartphone, and tightened his grip. Jason refused, scoffing at the idea of handing something so valuable to a stranger. He added words laced with mockery, sneering at Daniel's appearance and his skin color, making a joke of it, as though the man standing before him were nothing more than a caricature of poverty and race. Isabella's breath caught in her chest. She froze, every fiber of her being recoiling at the cruelty unraveling before her eyes. In that moment, she saw a side of Jason she had never known, a side masked carefully behind his charm, now exposed by something as simple as a request for kindness. Before Jason could continue, Isabella stepped forward and embraced Daniel tightly, her arms circling her father's shoulders with a tenderness born of love and pride. Jason blinked, his composure shattered, confusion and horror flickering across his face. The truth unfolded swiftly. Isabella revealed that the man he had mocked, the man he had dismissed as beneath him, was her father. Jason's mask of arrogance cracked, and desperation took its place. He stumbled through apologies, words tumbling from his lips in an attempt to erase what had just been spoken. He begged for forgiveness, tried to reframe his cruelty as a misunderstanding, but the damage had already been done. For Isabella, the realization struck with the weight of betrayal. The boy she thought she loved had revealed not only prejudice, but also shallowness. His words had carried the sharp edge of mockery toward her father, but underneath them lay something even darker, an obsession with her heart. but with the wealth and privilege that surrounded her. It became clear in the days that followed. Jason lingered, attempting to win her back, yet every move he made exposed his true intentions. He spoke too often of her family's status, of their connections, of the life he could imagine if he remained by her side. He rarely asked about her dreams, her thoughts, her struggles. She was not Isabella to him, she was a gateway. The revelation broke something in her, but it also awakened a strength she had inherited from both her parents. She remembered her father's struggles, his triumph over the barriers society had once placed before him. She remembered her mother's quiet defiance against a world that had questioned her love. Isabella realized she deserved a partner who saw her for who she was, not for the riches that framed her life. The final moment came one late evening when Jason appeared outside her home, desperate to explain himself again. Isabella met him at the edge of the driveway, her voice steady, her decision firm. Without anger, without hesitation, she ended what they had. Jason, stripped of charm, left in silence, his ambitions crumbling. Weeks later, Isabella and her father shared another quiet drive together. A new car, gleaming in the afternoon light, waited by the curb. Daniel opened the door, and Isabella slid inside, resting her head gently against the seat. She felt no sorrow now, only clarity. The man who had raised her had not only protected her, but had shown her what true character looked like. As the car pulled away, the memory of that afternoon in the park lingered. The test had been simple, almost ordinary, yet it had unveiled everything that needed to be seen. Jason's wealth, his charm, his surface, all had collapsed under the weight of his prejudice and greed. For Isabella, the lesson was indelible. Love was not measured by words or appearances, but by the quiet strength of one's actions, and in that, she understood the legacy her parents had always hoped to pass on. That dignity, kindness, and truth were the greatest forms of wealth. The Carter family moved forward, stronger than ever. Their mansion still gleamed, their names still carried weight, but it was the richness of their values that defined them most. Isabella, wiser now, walked into her future not with bitterness, but with gratitude. In the end, the test of the heart had been passed not by Jason, but by Isabella herself. The story of Isabella Carter is more than just a tale of a broken romance. It is a reminder that true character always rises above appearances. Wealth, beauty, and charm can dazzle the eyes, but they cannot disguise a corrupted heart. Isabella's courage to walk away from Jason's shallow intentions proved that love is not a prize to be bought, but a truth to be lived. As her father once told her, the measure of a person is not found in what they own, but in how they treat those they think can give them nothing. And so, Isabella carried this truth into her future, wiser, stronger, and ready to honor the legacy her parents had built, a life rooted not in wealth, but in dignity and love.